Hey listener, welcome to 1000 Routes. I'm your host, Nick Bennett. In each episode, we explore the uncommon paths of solopreneurs who have bet on themselves and the reality of what it takes to build a business that serves your life. Enjoy the episode.
My name is Emily Court. I design websites and visual identities for solopreneurs, freelancers, and micro agencies.
Well done. Short, pithy, boom. I like it. So this isn't the first thing you've ever done out on your own either, though, because you've been like a freelancer in the past, and you spent more time writing than you did web design and like brand identities and things like that. Talk to me about that evolution. Like, how did you decide that it was time to go from writer to designer?
Yeah. So the inkling first came to me during the pandemic. Prior to that, I had been permalancing before really understanding what that was, or to call it that, which is to say, operating as like a contractor, semi-full-time with no rights for various publications. And when one of them went under in 2020, I was also dealing with a bunch of other stuff at the time. The last publication I worked for in that capacity went under. I had been writing for several years at that point, and I went, is this really what I want to do? I'm not sure if this is where the money is. This is an opportunity to make a career change again. So I researched all sorts of different spaces, including like moving into a culinary career. But I ultimately stumbled across someone doing graphic design on YouTube, and I was transfixed. And that's when I started going to school for it in a part-time capacity. It became a back-end sort of offer for my clients. Like, I didn't advertise it, but like if I wrote an ebook, I'd be like, I can also design this for you. So I did that a little bit. My business was like 90-10 generously, writing versus design. And I plugged along like that for a little while, I guess a couple of years. And somewhere in there, I sat down with James Martin, who is a visual identity designer. He goes by the handle Made by James. He's got a massive platform and one of the most influential designers out there. And he's really generous to give his time away for free. And, I talked to him about my aspirations. I said, 5-year plan is to switch my business so it's more design than writing, largely because I needed a change. And not because I don't love writing anymore, but I think I had gotten to the point where I was making a lot of money writing for other people, but I was just a little bit spent on it. And I wanted to be really, really passionate about what I was doing. And James said, why not now? Why 5 years? And I sat on that for, 6 to 12 months before I officially made the front-facing pivot. And it took off really fast after I did that.
How did you decide to reach out to James? Like, for someone with a big following?
He made a post on LinkedIn that I disagreed with. And I brought up, I had said, I think there's certain aspects of privilege that are being missed in this specific opinion that you have. I agree with most of what James says. But James, like all not culty social influencers, but hey, this is a really great point. Thanks for saying this. And in my challenge to what he had originally said, as this tiny, tiny little creator and not even an established designer yet, was bold enough to challenge one of his opinions, I had told a little bit of my personal story. And in that, I had mentioned that I was a cancer survivor and I was dealing with chronic illness. And that caught his attention. And he was like, I'd love to hear more about that story and how you're doing with your transition. He's a very generous in spirit guy and considerate of the things that people have been through, and talks about his own big T trauma quite publicly. And yeah, he was like, let's have coffee. I want to hear more about your story. And then he ended up asking me about my career quite a lot and what my aspirations were and how he could help me. And that was a one and done conversation. I purchased some of his courses and stuff, but it was very influential. And he is somebody who could charge a lot of money to sit down with somebody for an hour, but he certainly does not always do that.
There's two things there. One is most people are probably they write the comment that disagrees with someone of some whatever level of influencer status, and then they delete it. Like, they never actually publish it. And there are a lot of people who are probably afraid to ever ask for, like, not that you necessarily asked, but like, yeah, it's just like you shared something and he's not afraid to give away his time. And I think a lot of the people at that level probably don't get asked for their time very often in like a genuine way. Like there's always people who can I pick your brain and can I steal your ideas, or can I try to sell you something? But there's not very many genuine asks for their time. And a theme across a lot of these conversations that I have is that there's usually a conversation like that kind of changes the trajectory of things. And it usually comes from one of those two places, which is like you show up in a genuine way on their platform or however, or you just have the courage to ask. It's really interesting to me. So you had this one conversation expedited your time frame by 4 years, which is cool.
Yeah, it sure did. It got me thinking about it, and I was just like, I'm not going to feel 100% ready. And like, I knew from my writing career that there was only one way to figure out how I can read all of the advice and see as many people's processes as I wanted to, but the only way to figure out how I was going to run my business and to get good at doing things the way I wanted to do them was in the field. And I just had to get it started to get it going.
There's never a good time. That's like the aha through all of it. There's no such thing as the right time or a good time to do it. You either decide to do it now or you don't. Talk about the first moment you felt like after you make this transition from writer to designer. Talk about the first moment you felt like this might actually work. Like, when was that too? Put me in the timeline here. Like, what year? When did you do that?
I made the pivot the end of last year. And within about a month, I want to say, of me making the front-facing pivot, Eric and I sat down for coffee. Erica Schneider, our friend Erica Schneider, as we were sometimes doing a digital coffee, and just like a catch-up, we were forming a friendship at that point. And kind of before I talked to her, I'd kind of looked at her website and I'd be like, wouldn't it be cool if I got to design her website one day? And we got on that call and we talked. I did not sell her anything. I did not pitch to her. I did not even talk about my pivot. I think I was asking her a lot of questions about what she was doing in that moment. I think she might have just been on a vacation. Anyway, middle of the call, she goes, so I think I want you to design my website. And I was like, and yup.
You're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. And I was like, I think I'm going to design your website. And we had signed a contract within like an hour of that. And that was scary for me, I'll be honest. She obviously has a big platform of people who also, at the time, I think I was at like 8,000 followers on LinkedIn. She has 40, lots of people. And we had a ton of overlap because of how much our careers have overlapped. And this was prior to switching to design. I've been doing some high pressure projects, but they were for like large multi-billion-dollar corporate clients who, had I botched them, it would have been like between me and them. It's not like they're online posting about me working for them. But from the moment I signed on with Erica, she's like, hey, I've hired Emily to do my web design, because she's a real one. But also I'm like, oh my God, now everyone knows I'm being watched. And it was the first time I felt like I was executing a project in public like that. And honest, like, she knows this, I've written posts about it. I was an anxious mess about this project. But when I got B1 of her website over to her and she sent me back her feedback and she loved it, for me, that's the moment I was like, I can do this. Like, all of this. And in my transition to web design, it was a lot of like shaking, crying, proverbially throwing up. I was rattled, anxious from the time I woke up until the time I went to sleep. But I was really like, it was a very high pressure thing for me prior to rebuilding my own website and wanting it to be good enough that I looked like a real good web designer, and then doing this project so publicly with Erica. Fortunately, it was extremely well received and my business blew up after that.
I know the feeling, because I had helped Erica create content sparring. And when that happened, it was also like we were like kind of in the very early parts of it. And she's did the same thing. She just shared that this happened. She was like, I talked to Nick and we did this thing and we figured it out and it's been awesome. And like, I received a similar response to her sharing that process. And she and I hadn't worked together in like as co-founders at that point. Like we were still building a relationship and I was helping her do this thing and I was working with her on that. But like I totally get the feeling when I was like, oh, if I fuck this up,
Yeah.
like this is it. Like if I
Everyone's
drop
gonna
the
know.
ball here, everyone's gonna know.
Everyone's going to know what I know already, which is that I'm useless.
Yeah, we only have one choice, and it is to not fail, is to make this a success. So I totally feel you on that level of pressure. But I also feel you on like what difference it can make on your business. Like there's a lot to be said for and this is also like foreshadowing like a lot of like the work that we do today. It's kind of interesting to think about. I've never really thought about this. The work that we do today, especially as we build out our own MP3 framework, like doing that thing that she does by like marketing the process and talking about it, like that ended up, all that stuff that she did with us became the frameworks, right? It became the frameworks that we have today. I've never retrospected on that concept, but anyway, it makes a massive difference. So that's the first moment where you felt like, oh, like, okay, like I'm a real designer. So this is the end of last year. And then actually you did design the full stack solo site and I ruined it. And I've alluded to this many times that I ruined it and you had to fix it for me. And I want to publicly thank you again.
No problem. No problem. It was a fun like 9 p.m. on a Friday night activity for me.
Just to be clear, like what actually happened, because you and I have never really talked about it. It was only through like a DM, but inside of Card, like I didn't refresh her, like the site is done. And I said, cool. And then I went to change the favicon. But if you don't refresh the site, it just overrides what's live with what's on your browser.
A lesson for everyone.
A lesson for the world on Card. Card needs a revision history in the worst way. Like, I mean, look, for $11, like it's pretty good, but I mean, like,
just pretty good for $11.
You'd really save Emily a lot of time if they had that. But I updated the favicon, and then in doing that, it undid 90% of what you had done.
Not that extreme. 15%.
In my head, it was 90. And so 9 p.m. on a Friday. So that's how you know it's good.
It's all good. Water under the bridge. I wasn't mad at the time and I'm not mad now. You said something funny about it. And people, if you're funny about things, you can get pretty much anything by me.
All right. That's good. That's good. That makes me feel better. Okay.
Make it fun.
There you go. See, you just like make work fun. Glass half full. So you do Erica's site. Things go well. That was the end of last year. It's been 6 months since then. And I think you last said something that you're like booked until August. So like the idea of being booked out is, and it's early June right now that we're having this conversation. So you're booked till August. That's like congratulations. That's a very high bar to clear. And a lot of people haven't done something like that. But what do you think contributes to that? Like, how do you plan out work till August? I think that's kind of the question here. Is like a lot of people look at it and go like, most people don't know what's going to happen at the end of the week. Or they're like, hey, I have like a couple things going, but like to be booked that far in advance is a huge weight lifted and a huge relief for that. So like, what do you think contributed to that? Like, how do you manage that? How do you build a pipeline like that as one person slinging websites?
I mean, I will say, like, I'm very referral based right now, and I'm still ironing that out. I read your copy. I know I don't want to just be leaning into that, but that is where we are right now. And a lot of the work I've been wanting to do in my own business has kind of not been happening as quickly as I like because of health stuff that has happened recently. So I'm really focused on my client work. But I will say one thing that makes it easier to be booked out until August is that my projects often take like I'm booked out until August with 2 projects. So that's just how long they take and how high ticket they are. And then that's been, obviously referrals have been great, but I will say to your note of like, this is really rare. True. Even when I was earning like kind of a high ticket writer and I was at a very high earning efficiency, I was often flying by the seat of my pants. But I will say right now, what is keeping me booked as far out as I am is doing a good job for my clients in the past. Referrals are really feeding the machine right now. And then people who I have my kind of long-term established relationships with through LinkedIn. The inbound leads I tend to get that are not through referral are really from people who feel like they know me and feel like I'm like them, which means when my clients get to me, they are my inbound clients that don't have a referral. They are typically a really, really good fit.
Like our friend Sarah Brooks.
Like our friend Sarah Brooks.
I'm going to have her on next week. And one of the things, like, I know you did her site, so it's a very public thing, but when I was talking to her about, she's like, my copy's all done. I'm going to have, and it was like a foregone conclusion. Like, this is the interesting thing about, like, when you own like a slice of mind share from people, it was like already a foregone conclusion. She's like, I can't wait to have Emily do the site, which was really cool. Cause it's like, I expressed this thing recently. I was like, I'm really frustrated that I'm looking for a specific type of like coach for myself, and I had no one to recall. It's like a really frustrating experience when you're like, I need this thing, I have this problem in my life, and I have no one top of mind. Even if you ask around for some friends or for a referral, you don't quite get exactly what you're looking for or the way that like your brain perceives it, because you wired your brain, not someone else. In that respect, like no one's helped condition you on something the way that they see it. So you go in with your own tilt on it. But it was really interesting to hear Sarah go, like, I want Emily to do it because I appreciate the way that she approaches the build, or just her and all of these things. So I was like, okay, this is, well, one, it's a great case study in market condition because like you were her first recall. And there's a lot of people, arguably, there's like an unlimited number of people who can build sites for people.
Yeah. You don't have to be the best. You just have to be the favorite.
Yes.
And most memorable. Those two things tend to go hand in hand. Yeah. And Sarah was a phenomenal fit.
Right. Because she knew exactly what she was going to get too.
Yeah. And because she had, she's kind of in this web where she also comes to me with a very well-positioned and clearly conceptualized offer and product, which makes the designs so much easier when there's like a super clear vision on what the business is or what the product or offer is and how it's branded. The design is just like infinitesimally easier. I have worked with clients in the past who don't have that, and it can be tough. That's starting to be a red flag for me.
Tell me more about that. How do you decide how do you come to some of those conclusions? Because a lot of us operate in the world of like, money's better than no money. Clients are better than no clients. Deciding to like weed out good fit, bad fit. Like, what's your process? Like, talk me through that a little bit.
Yeah. There are certain things I've always prioritized in my career in writing as well. Like, energy, rapport from the discovery call. I often call discovery calls vibe checks because I think so much of whether you're going to work well with somebody is whether you like work off of each other well. That said, I don't think that is the only indicator, because I've honestly had some people who the discovery call was like a little bit fumbly in terms of us like developing an immediate rapport. Like that's, a lot of my discovery calls, it's like this sparkly energy, and it's very, very clear we're like two best friends who just met. On a lot of my calls, because I'm so, I would say, personal brand led, and people come to me because of kind of who I am and my vibe more than like, oh, she's always talking about how to make the best websites. So that's part of it. But then other times it's been a little bit more like, oh, like maybe we don't instantly have that like electric kind of client service provider chemistry, but they still turn out to be a really good client because I'm seeing signs like value alignment, not acting like it's a life or death thing, no weird gotcha energy or questions on the discovery call. And then I'm always thinking like, from my perspective, is this person, again, a good fit for me? I'm not trying to convince them that I'm a good fit for them. And then in terms of, I just mentioned some of the red flags I look out for. Also, like I said, people who don't have a lot of clarity on their business. Like I don't want to work with people who are too early. I'm working on perfecting a productized offer for people who are fairly early, but there's definitely such a thing as too early. And I've worked with somebody on their website before who like didn't really know what their business was. And that was like kind of changing. It was just a one pager, but that was kind of like changing through our creative process. And at the end, like they did write me a really lovely note after the fact and said, this was great. Thank you for this. But I wasn't really as sold on the end product as I would have liked to be, because as a web designer, my job is to create something that helps them sell and legitimize a well-conceived thing. And when that thing is not super well-conceived, it's hard to do that job as well as I'd like to.
The vibe check is an appropriate like way to describe this, because I mean, you're in the design business. If they don't like your design aesthetic and the way that you have a style. Like I could probably pick out an Emily Court website without knowing you did it. I could look at it and go, Emily did this site, because you have a style. And that's a very good thing. Like people kind of know what they're going to get. And when they work with you, they're going to get, it's like, I tell people this all the time. It's like, they can get any website from anyone. Like they want to be able to walk into the situation and know what they're going to get and have a good understanding of what they're not going to get either.
Yeah.
So like they hire you for that aesthetic because they like the look of that thing.
There's definitely such a thing as a designer of falling too deep into that, though. Like I do like to post about and talk about the fact that I have range, because you can end up in a place where there are some designers who have such a strong aesthetic and project their own aesthetic onto their clients so much that all of their clients start to look the same. And that definitely becomes a problem if they niche by industry, because then there's a bunch of competitive businesses with websites that look and feel the same, which is not what you want. So it's a line. Yes, I have an aesthetic that is bold, bright, often minimalistic, typically. But it's really, I think, really important to have range as a graphic designer while still being able to, you're right, establish that certain kind of expectation. And demonstrating that range allows clients to look at a wide variety of your work and make sure you're able to check the box that they want to check.
Oh, I haven't considered this, but I know now that you describe this, I definitely I have seen it.
There's a specific niche of show it designers specifically, where all the websites have the same kind of look and feel. And like you can tell all the designers who design, like I'm like, you all learned from the same person.
What's a show it? What's
show it? It's a CMS. So you're an alternative to Squarespace, WordPress.
Gotcha. Yeah. I always think about how, I don't know if it's this way in Canada, but in the US, every car dealership on the planet uses the same CMS. Like even if it's like Honda, they all use it, and it's the exact same design for every site, for every like dealership inventory. So like they're all on the same exact. It's like kind of funny that it's like no matter all the competitors, whatever, like they all look and feel and operate the exact same way. And you don't ever think about it or look at it, but it's like when you're buying a car, you're like, I can't believe that all of you fell in, like this one company owns you all. Like, how is this even possible? Like, and it's the same stupid design. It's very not nice. It's not good. It's a terrible experience.
Can't drive, have never shot for a car, but I 100% believe you.
Okay. Well, it's horrible.
I'll have to check them out.
You'll have to check it out. It's pretty terrible. It's a masterclass in like what not to do. You wrote a post recently. I bring it up because the name of the carousel is so fun. Oh yeah, it was. It was in February. And the name of the carousel was called 5 Super Cute Lessons from Not Dying or Whatever. And first I want to say is congratulations on 5 years cancer-free.
Thank you.
I know that's a massive milestone.
It is.
And we don't have to get into any of the nitty gritty details, but I do know, like, so I recently had Devin Bramhall on. I actually had her back because we did the cancer special with her, and she shared the entire crazy story that she went through. But I think the fact that you shared this, I think the one that stands out to me is that like, there's a lot of reasons to not own a business and to not do the stuff. And it's so much easier to just like go get a job, especially when you have a lot of stuff going on in your life that takes up a lot of your headspace. And the fact that over the last how many ever years that you said permalancing or freelancing, writing and creating websites for people, all while thinking about this stuff just blows my mind in so many ways, because I feel like it's so much easier to give up. Not like on, not, I mean, on a lot of things, but it's like so much easier just to like phone it in and go to work for somebody. And I'm curious, like, what is your motivation for doing this work and wanting to do this versus just like, I'm just going to go be a content writer for some random company and just like chill out?
Yeah. This is a great question. I love this question. Part of the reason why I'm self-employed, after I was diagnosed with cancer, I was diagnosed with several other illnesses. It may have been, I've got some weird genetic stuff going on. They may have been always in the pipeline, or the trauma of this illness may have kicked them into effect. And also in recovery from cancer, I often say that having cancer is not really the hard part. It's the surviving cancer that's the hard part. Things were very, very hard for me, things that should have been much easier. And, I still identify as somebody who struggles with chronic illness. And it very quickly became clear to me when I kind of started freelancing by accident that this is a lifestyle that would allow me to be as sick as I needed to be and still make enough money to initially scrape by, but eventually make way more money than I ever made before. And so being a solopreneur, because of that, because of, chronic illness, cancer survivorship, the things that come with that, and the flexibility I kind of need in my life to be able to take care of myself and like continue to function more like a fully healthy person does. That has been a huge motivator for me for staying a solopreneur / freelancer. Also, prior to any of this happening, I didn't do well in the regular working world. I've written posts about this. I had 26 jobs before I started working for myself. I was always too much this, not enough of that. I would start something and I'd be a shining star employee for somewhere between like 3 months and a year in like the best case scenario. And then it would kind of like crash and fall apart. And I always thought I was just lazy, or I was just bad, or I was just whatever. And then when I started working for myself, I realized that the 9-to-5 world is just not made for a wide variety of people, and that so many people struggle with this. And it just, it devastated my self-esteem. It made me feel like there was something about me that was fundamentally broken. And then, yes, I became chronically like cancer, all these other things to deal with. And especially in the first few years after my 2 surgeries I had when I had cancer, the flexibility was so important to me. There were a lot of days when I could only do like an hour of work, and to be able to make enough money that I could just scrape by on that was huge. So bearing all of that in mind, pivoting to serve as I moved into web design, pivoting to serve micro agencies, freelancers, and solopreneurs, typically the micro agencies are also solo, has been huge to me, because I was making a lot of money writing words, technical writing for whatever company or copy before, but now there's like this purpose piece. So many of the people who come to me, especially because they come to me in part because of my personal brand, are in a similar situation. They're like, regular job doesn't work for me because I'm neurodivergent, because I have chronic illness, or because I have kids, or because that's the broad strokes list. And I see that the system to me is pretty broken in a lot of ways. And I think by empowering people to legitimize their businesses through creativity and design, and have more confidence in selling and pitching themselves and promoting their businesses, I'm able to help them gain that same freedom and get out of the same trap that just beat me down in so many different ways for so many years.
Working 9 to 5, definitely, you don't realize how much flexibility you don't have. I mean, I don't want to like poo-poo on having a job. Like,
no, it's great for some people.
It's really great for a lot of people. And it was great for me for the vast majority of my career this far. Yeah. John Bonini always jokes, he's like, my biggest flex is that I don't have a resume anymore. Like this idea of like, I don't have one is something that like, and I've like adopted this idea of like, I don't want one because I don't plan on ever going back. And if I go back, it's not because I updated my resume. There will be other relationship-based factors in play that will take me back. But anyway, but the point is like, I totally agree with you. I think the flexibility, like you don't realize how much flexibility you don't have in that environment until you get to decide.
I don't think one is universally better. I always say like some people are 100% not cut out to work for themselves and some people are 100% not cut out to work for other people. And then there's people who could kind of either or. I'm probably the not cut out to work for other people category.
Yeah, I've met many people who are who are going forward, who's just like, I don't know. There's definitely like a certain level of ambition and drive that you need baseline to do this. But what I think is the most interesting thing that you said here, which is a reason why I also choose to work with like the solos and the micro agencies, is because your ability to make a difference for people is like off the charts. You know, $1 billion companies, like, can you get hired or like do a project or whatever, do work for a very large company and make a difference for them? Like, absolutely. And there's a lot of people who like to do that. The price on that is also a lot higher. Like there's a lot of positives to doing work for those people, but I don't think it's very, it's not compelling or motivating for me. And it doesn't sound like it is either for you, because it's like, if you can make a difference for someone this way, like it makes 100 times the impact, even if the dollar sign is not, it's not $1 billion outcome. It's like, oh, it changed this person's life, this family, like this person's spouse. Like a big one that I hear a lot is like, oh, like my spouse can stay home with the kids now. Like shit like that is a thing that you're like, oh, if I can help other people do those things. Yeah, like that just is like so much more motivating. And it's even like I stopped working with agencies with like 10 employees. Like that's like the maximum at this point. But it's like it's like more than that. It's like we've entered red tape and bureaucracy and all the other bullshit that goes in. It's like I don't want to deal with it. It doesn't make the level of difference that I think it matters. We're not there anymore. We've kind of lost sight of that thing. And I think it's like you're way closer to home when you're down in like solopreneur land, at least for me. And it sounds like it sounds similar for you.
For sure. And while you're saying that as well, like, I guess I've never really articulated this, but it brings to mind for me that like when you're working with solos, there's so much more opportunity for you to set the tone for how you want your business transactions to be, how you want things to flow, how much fun you want them to be, how laid back you want them to be. It's just funny. I'm not a particularly laid back person, but I'm fun, as is evidenced by my post this morning, which I know you saw. But when you're working with a larger team, you're adapting to their culture. I think even if you are a solopreneur, a freelancer, once you start to work with a larger team, you're getting pulled into their tone, which has already been set. And that tone can sometimes be kind of like cold and uninteresting and unenjoyable.
Right.
Because you're kind of like getting stuck back into this like very like corporate communication style. And I don't know if you found that to be true, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a way you have to work really hard to put up those guardrails.
Yeah.
And prevent that or like blast through that. But one of the things that was really motivating for me was just the speed at which like a solopreneur or a micro agency owner can just decide today that this is the thing. There's no consensus, there's no committee, there's no, like, they can just decide. And it's not like irrational or fast decision. Like I agree, let's go. Like that level of just cool, we can do this thing versus we have 15 employees and how are we going to like this might impact some of their jobs, or we have to like frame this up in a way that's going to, some people are going to get upset about this change that we're trying to make, or we're going to have to like, and hey, look, it's all very meaningful stuff. Like those people are doing meaningful work by employing all those people. Like there's nothing wrong with doing any of that stuff. It's just, for me, I found that there was this space in the market where I was like, oh, ability to make a difference, super high. Pay, super high. Not $1 billion, not whatever. Don't work for tech companies. Who cares? Like make a great living, make a great difference. Like that was it. And it's like, that's motivating. Like I don't know anyone who sells into tech companies or any of these other companies that's like super in love. Like they're like, or super like inspired by these companies or by the work that they have to do. In a lot of ways, they're like, yeah, it's like cool. And I get to work for myself. And like, I'm really happy. And the people that hire me are great. And I love working with them. Like I hear it all the time. I love my clients. They're great people. Like they really, really care. Like they're trying really, really hard, stuff like that. But I don't think anyone gives a shit about I mean, you should see this meme all the time. It's like creating shareholder value and shit like that. So no one gives a fuck about any of that stuff, especially the people who aren't going to get paid out for it.
Couldn't agree more.
All right, Emily, looking back, what is something you would have done different?
I guess I would have gone out on my own a lot sooner. I think by doing the kind of permalancy stuff, I did learn a lot of content and marketing skills that were helpful to me, but I probably wouldn't have gone through like multiple publications through that process. I probably would have started freelance writing like 4 or 5 years earlier than I did. Other than that, I mean, this career path is one thing I don't have a lot of regrets about. I moved pretty aggressively in a way that I like, but yeah, I wish I could have been making a lot more money sooner and freer and maybe arrived to where I am now, which is a place I'm very happy with, even sooner than I did.
I feel you on like the sooner thing, but I also think I'm curious if this was your experience because it sounds like we are swimming in the same season in a lot of ways. I always told myself for years, I was like, one day, like I'm gonna start getting a couple clients on the side, and then maybe I'll go out on my own. Like you kind of just like in your head, you tell yourself it's gonna happen, and then it kind of just doesn't happen. Personally, I was laid off from my job, and then I was like forced into figuring something out. And for me, the fastest path to providing for my family was go figure out solopreneurship. Go applying and competing with 2,000 people to go get a job in marketing was like not something that, I was just like, I'm not going to play that game. This seems like a way more viable opportunity. So I kind of always told myself it would happen sooner, but I also think at the same time, it's like, well, it kind of happened right on schedule for me as much as, and I'm curious if did you go through that? You were like, I'm going to start freelancing and then just never.
No, I started freelancing because somebody told me they wanted to hire me to like do a freelance job. There's somebody who I had applied for a full-time job with in content marketing. I later found out that this person did not hire me into that role because it was a toxic work environment. And she had read a personal essay of mine and she saved me from that. Yeah, but she did hire me for some freelance work. And she did send me emails telling me to charge more. And she's like the patron saint of my career. But I think what was missing for me wasn't that I was sitting there thinking about it and not doing it. It was that I had such an issue with being an employee, and I had been so bad at being an employee in certain ways that I thought, if I can't hack this, there's no way I could do something of my own, right? Because I'd formed these beliefs that I was lazy and kind of incompetent, and I was missing something that other people had. Turns out I was just playing the wrong game, and I'm definitely neither lazy nor incompetent. I'm happy to have learned, but I only learned that by accident. And I guess when I say I wish I'd done it sooner, I'm also saying I wish that I had known how much better it would be, but I didn't. I had the entrepreneurial spirit from a very young age, but by the time I was, in my mid-20s, I thought I was just busted. So it didn't occur to me to go it on my own.
So that was the turning point for you, is that you applied for a job and this woman was like, we'll go freelance. Like, I'll instead of giving you the job.
Thought leadership is what I ended up working on. Yeah.
And was that the moment for you where you were like, oh,
hey, this is a lot of money and not very much time.
And you were like, if I could do this like a few more times, I wouldn't have to have this other thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess this is late in the party for me to be like revealing this nugget. But yeah, it was like this one person. I think I did an interview and like a test assignment. And I since have met several people whose lives have just been bedazzled by this woman. She's Vancouver local, and now she does like leadership workshops and stuff. And she, as far as I know, she's very successful at it and making buckets of money. But she was in-house when I met her and just since gone solo.
Buckets of money sounds great.
An anonymous angel, but she's pretty great. And yeah, I've met a lot of people who've had their lives changed by her because she's just like big putting the ladder down for people.
That's amazing. And yeah, well, it's interesting. It's like there's always a couple of people out there that in the moment they're just doing what feels right, and it's crazy that changed the trajectory
of my life.
Yeah. How long did it take you to acquire like enough freelance writers where you could quit or freelance?
Like immediately. I had no job at the time. And I just like through her, 'cause she's an incredibly well-networked person. I just kept getting, I really like, I got a ton of Because this person was so well networked, I got a ton of referrals through them and then referrals from the people they were connected with. And my business relied on that until I hit a wall and I realized I couldn't rely 100% on referrals. And that's when I became an outbound person, an aggressive outbound person, and started building up my LinkedIn presence. But prior to that, I hadn't had a social media presence at all. And I was running a freelance business just through my email.
And then you started going outbound, like
Outbound and LinkedIn at the same time. Yeah. And outbound was a huge part of my strategy and it saved my business at the top of 2023. I was like, this is going under. I had just been sitting on my hands and letting referrals come to me and then they disappeared and there was nothing in my inbox. And I was like, what the hell is this? I thought this was just going to happen forever. And I went, okay, well, I have to try harder because I need to know that I gave this 100%. And outbound, I got like one client and I made nearly 60K off of that way. And some pretty big names on my, not resume, but client list through that strategy.
It's kind of amazing the things that you do when you feel like your back's against the wall.
Yeah.
There's this weird spot that I find a lot of people fall into, which is things like when the well starts to dry up, things aren't that bad and you're not going outbound yet. You're not trying, you're not doing some of the things. Usually it's like ego kind of gets in the way of action on that stuff. And things are okay. They're not bad enough to start taking action, but like you're getting by and that's okay. And you're like, dang, like I could really use another client, but like people won't do the thing. Yeah. And then there's a moment that it's like back is completely up against the wall. And now is the moment where if I'm going to do this, I'm going to make this work. I have to do this. I have to do something. And outbound is usually the thing that most people do, or they'll immediately start trying to post to LinkedIn. But like, I think LinkedIn is a longer game.
100%. My thoughts exactly. Outbound is immediate for me. And that was my strategy. Social media was always a long game. And it took me a long time before I started getting inbound leads through LinkedIn, like a long time.
What were you doing? Were you DMing on LinkedIn? Were you just like sending emails to people? What were you doing?
I was looking for my main strategy on LinkedIn was looking for people who had posted about needing a writer, no matter how I'm reaching out to them. And my messages were typically 2 to 5 sentences long. My goal was always just get them to talk back to me. I just have to get the conversation started. And that is what, changed things for me completely.
I appreciate you sharing that because I think there are too many people who are afraid that outbound makes them seem like there's something wrong with going outbound. Like the way that you describe it is the way that I try to describe it as well, which is just start conversations with people.
Mm-hmm. On those first messages, no long, aggressive sales pitch. Never long, aggressive sales pitch on the first message. The first message is, I am human. I am here. I've heard you need this thing. You want to have a conversation about it? And that's, maybe 1 to 2 sentences about why I might be the right person. But sometimes I was answering posts that were real vague. And some of those were very fruitful for me.
I don't know if there's ever a moment for a long sales pitch, but I think that
a sales page, perhaps.
Yes, perhaps then. Or if someone says, "Can you tell me about your packages and pricing?" Like, yeah, perhaps then is a good opportunity to pitch somebody something. But starting conversations doesn't feel weird when you're literally just trying to reach out to somebody. And it's like, now the beauty of it though, I find, is that when you post shit to LinkedIn and then they see your little bubble pop up, the odds of them responding to that message go way up.
Yeah.
Like you could go outbound now and it would probably be even easier.
Yeah. I sent a couple messages last week. It was the first time I'd sent anything outbound in a really long time, like 3. I used to do this for at least an hour a day, but I was like, might as well do this. I know it's important. Like I don't want to be relying entirely on referrals or my LinkedIn presence. But yes, that is true. But I was also able to, before I had any significant presence on LinkedIn, and even when I was writing posts and they were not really targeted towards my ideal customer at the time and they were spectacularly flopping, I was still able to close high ticket clients using Outbound.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Conversations lead to business opportunities.
Yeah. And a lot of it's just timing. It's partly luck too, but like you have to put yourself in the position to be lucky. If you're not in their inbox, you're not going to be the person who's chosen. If you're not in their inbox, you're not going to be the person who is there at the right second.
Yeah. You also just like, the at-bats concept is very real. Like if you don't have any at-bats, there's no opportunity to make money. Like you have to leave, like trying something.
A lot of people, I think, wait for the perfect thing. They're like, what's my perfect strategy? Like, if your business is doing nothing right now, try everything.
Yeah, everything.
And different things work for different people.
Yeah, but also like if your business, like you can try stuff and not get, like, I don't know, there's an aversion to outbound, like a lot that people only want to do business with people who want to do business with them or who inbound to them. But that's why I try to reframe it to starting conversations.
Don't make it weird and it's not weird.
Thank you. That's really that's the thing. I'm going to start saying that where it's like, stop making it weird. Just, it's funny because I tell people most of the time, I'm like, just like, do a human thing. And if somebody subscribes to your newsletter, perhaps you just shoot them a message and say, thanks for subscribing to my newsletter. Thank you for supporting my work. It really means a lot. And then they go, how much? That's an option? It's like, yeah, do a normal human thing and say thank you to people. And you'd be sitting, they go, oh, and then they start a conversation like, how did this happen?
The one thing though I notice, I like to say too, is like, if you're trying to sell me something, don't pretend we're doing small talk. And if you're doing make small talk and make selling. Like if you are pitching to someone, be concise and direct. Don't be like, sometimes I'll have somebody who's like a coach in some capacity and they'll be like, what are you struggling with on LinkedIn these days? And I'm like,
oh my God,
guy, I'm pretty sure my business is at like much higher revenue than yours and my posts are outperforming yours and I don't need your help with my LinkedIn.
I'm booked till August if you didn't already know. No, that one's the worst because that's the pitch slap or what are you struggling with? Or it's like, or they're just like, oh, I just want more great people in my connections. And then you accept it and then they're like, here's my offer. And you're like, no, you got me.
That too.
Now I have to move you to other.
But in the same vein, like if you're not like selling me something, like it's just authenticity for me. Like, first of all, if you're going to make the pitch, make it short, make it human. But like, there's also people who are like, asking me these super deep questions because they think that's going to elicit a response from me. And I'm like, really, like just like a little kind of talking point from a post of mine or something you read that's like funny or interesting or something we share in common would be a lot more effective than like trying to ask me about the meaning of life. I don't know you and I don't want to engage with you about that right now.
Yeah. Like I don't need to tell a stranger what I'm struggling with on LinkedIn. Like even if that's like, if that was a conversation I wanted to have with somebody, I probably wouldn't have it with a stranger.
Yeah.
Agreed. All right, Emily, what's next for you? What's the future of your design business look like? What do you want to build that you haven't built yet?
Productize. I've identified that my customers fall into two main groups. I'm productizing a lower ticket offer for people who are earlier on in their business or who are trialing something that they have productized and aren't ready for like a 5-6 page website. So one pagers, in other words, I want to productize that. I have not been good about productizing any of my web design stuff. It's a hard task with web design, but I definitely want to have one offer productized that's low ticket, fast turnaround. And I also want to launch a podcast I've been talking about for several months. I said to a friend the other day, I was like, I feel like I talk about launching something and between the time I actually take action on that and start talking about it, Erica Schneider and now you two have launched like 8 things. I said to Erica, I think early this year that I wanted to launch a podcast. And since then she's launched a podcast, like 12 courses, 16 products. And I'm like, haven't made headway on the podcast yet. But there's a podcast in the works that I'm really excited about. And I think people who resonate with this conversation will resonate with that as well. It's coming this year.
Well, I appreciate the productized service because I know about 1 million people who need that from you. So I'm excited for that. I'm curious, what's the premise of your podcast? Because that's what got me. That prevented me from launching this show for like literally a year.
The easiest way to articulate the premise is to tell you the name, but I don't want to tell anybody the name yet. It's very close to my heart.
You think we're going to steal it?
It's a secret name. No, when it comes out, I want it to be.
That's fine. That's fair.
I don't want to say it anywhere else first. I want it to be branded when it comes out, which is the thing that is making me move slower than somebody else might because I want the branding to be the visual identity to be perfect. So it's making me procrastinate on it. But the premise is it's about this story I kind of told today about how the conventional working world didn't work for me. And I want to be speaking with people who blew that shit up and are doing things their own way. So a lot of kind of overlap with the sort of stuff you end up talking to people about, right? Where it's going to be solopreneurs, freelancers, people who run micro agencies, talking about why they went solo and how it has liberated them and the specific strategies they use to make it sustainable for them, but with a real undertone of rebellion. And I, really want to get to the bottom of how it liberates some people who the other option just didn't serve them.
I love it. I'm a huge fan of people who are trying to make a difference for solopreneurs. I think there is a lot of rah-rah content for solopreneurs. That's like a lot of like, just do it. Like, just go and sell your ebook. And that was like my big motivation for this show. I was like, I'm more interested in the reality of the shit that people go through trying to make all this shit work. And so I love anyone who's trying to make a difference for solopreneurs. I love it. So I can't wait to listen. You told people, like, you made it. This is a public show. So you've committed to it. So now it must be done.
It has to happen. I think this is the second podcast I've talked about it on. So it is happening. It's just taking me a hot minute.
It's a lot of work. I'll tell you, it is a lot of work to keep up with podcast production. It was significantly more work than I thought it was going to be. And now I've decided I'm a glutton for punishment and I will host 2 podcasts. I have no idea. It'll be full interview. Are you going to do solo episodes? That's the tough one.
I'm thinking about doing a combo. The reason being that it's not explicitly a sales channel, but I'm very story led. It's like, we started this podcast by you wanting to hear more about one of my stories. And I think that I've got a lot of very wild stories. I have lived a lot of lives and I've made a lot of mistakes. And I think I have learned from my experience on LinkedIn that people are interested in those stories and that they want to hear them. So there may be that, but I'm not 100% sure whether it's going to be a 50-50 split or what. Yeah.
Good news is there are no rules and it's your show. So you can do whatever the hell you want.
Hell yeah. Love that attitude.
There are literally no rules to it. You can literally just make them up.
So ready. This is very fitting in the spirit of the show. And you will definitely realize that once you hear the title.
I can't wait to listen. Emily, thank you for coming on and sharing your story with me. It's a wild one, but I know more people feel seen because you have shared it with us today. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much.
What would be your last meal on Earth?
On Earth?
Yeah. I mean, so this could mean 2 things. Like you're going to die tomorrow and you're going to have your last meal, or like you're going to take a rocket ship and go live on the moon. And either way, it's your last one here.
Okay. It's going to be Vietnamese food. Maybe bánh xèo, which for anyone who doesn't know is like a large turmeric pancake filled with a bunch of stuff, depending on where you get it. And then a dessert, which is more typically Thai. I'm going to say mango sticky rice.
I just had mango sticky rice for the first time,
Oh, did you?
Like a few weeks ago, and I have been missing out.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
You're not the first person to say mango sticky rice. You are the first person to say this large turmeric pancake, though. That
it was the first thing I love that's Vietnamese that came to mind. Because bottom line, Vietnamese food is my favorite cuisine. And anytime I'm given the choice, that's pretty much the direction I'm going to go in.
All right. I respect that. I'm like pretty hopped up on the Thai food right now. So like your mango sticky rice thing really got my attention. But the Vietnamese food, I haven't had too much of that, but it seems tasty. I'm like into that.
There's a good amount of overlap between the two.
Yeah, I like it. All right. Giant turmeric pancake. I haven't had one, but hey, if you're serving it and you're flying to the moon tomorrow, I'm in.
All right. Party.